We are here today to engage in a panel discussion with some very esteemed guests. And the topic of the panel discussion is navigating content through the current media explosion. And the brief that we have all discussed and shared is that we have content everywhere on WhatsApp, on YouTube, on the cell phone, television, cinema, theatre. We have big screens with advertisements in big buildings. And how is it that we guide our children through this kind of media explosion and tell them what values to pick up and what ideas to reject? Or how is it that we help them process all that information that's coming across to them? I will just take 2 minutes to introduce our guests. At the very end, we have Mr. Kranti, Kanade, acclaimed director from FTII, who made a short film called Chaitra for his diploma, and the film won 5 national awards. It's based during the time of Haldi Kumkum ceremony in a small village in Maharashtra. We then have Dr. Suneeta Kulkarni, who is an educational psychologist and has been in the field researching and working on a lot of projects for the last 30 years and more. She's currently the honorary director of a project called therein, which I'm sure we have a lot to learn from. Please just go visit the website, and I'm sure Matt will share a little more about it. We then have the CEO of Children's Film Society India, who have given us their films, and we're trying to make this festival work. And of course, there's no introduction needed for Dr. Mohan Agashe. And I think everybody here will agree when we say he's a legend. We were expecting a bigger turnout today, but I have been getting calls and messages from people who have been inquiring about this particular panel discussion. And they're all very sorry for having to turn around from halfway because of the Palki procession and the traffic jam. But sir and ma'am and Kranti and everybody, they have just said, it's okay, even an audience with 5 people is an audience, and we're so glad that they have still agreed to be here. I will just hand over the mic now to Dr. Agashe for his opening comments on the panel discussion.
Thank you very much. I would request some rights in you. I want to see people. I want to know whether they're sleeping or they're awake. This is not a performance. Anyway, since you are already late, my purpose in coming here primarily is to learn. So very soon I'll cross the line and come and sit there, where probably I think one hears better also, because all the speakers are in that direction and they are not behind me. So I can't hear also what I'm speaking. So if I go wrong, please tell me. Okay, now this is a very important subject as far as I'm concerned. And of the 3, 2 are actually very important media persons. One runs Children's Film Society, and the other one is the director and the filmmaker. The third person is very important because theoretically, though she may be educational psychologist, I know her because we have been doing theatre for children for 3 years now. Different kind of theatre, which probably Kranti knows and everybody knows. It's a theatre for children done by adults, where children are respected as an audience. And this is very important. The normal theatre for children, the concept is the theatre which you do with the children, and which I am sure all your teachers do. And children also love to do theatre because it's in their nature to do theatre from childhood. I don't know any adult who hasn't been acting at the age of 2 and 3 and 4. And at that age you really start because you choose your audience. And you do it either for parents or you teachers, people you like. And if you are forced to perform because you are good, you refuse to perform, which is normal. But why it is important to discuss what role now cinema has to play, especially in this millennium, as we have not gradually, we have shifted, not so gradually as we did from oral tradition to written tradition. It took a long time for oral tradition to shift to written, because first there used to be manuscript. And manuscript was limited to some people. But ever since the printing technology came, there was democratization of print media. And everything became available to everyone. Though the culture did not permit many people to read because they were refrained from learning to read. But once printing technology came and with the cultural change, there was a major paradigm shift in concept of literacy from oral skills to written skills. And reading and writing became compulsory or rather mandatory in education system. Is percolated so deep that from before first year of school till after last year of college, whether you are in science, arts, commerce, whatever field, it is mandatory to learn reading and writing of language of words. So instead of speaking, reading, writing became. So the entire focus shifted to cognitive intelligence, as we call it, or scholastic intelligence. And so IQ became very important. For many, many decades, so for 300 years, because print media preceded digital media by almost 300 years. So we have to learn reading and writing. Gradually, orators were replaced by writers. Now with the advancement of digital technology and that stupid instrument which we have, where we click photos left, right and center, sorry to say, but like cow shits anywhere and everywhere without being aware of it. तर मराठी चांगलं आहे ते लेंडकं टाकत हिंडत तसे आपण फोटो काढत हिंडत जातो with no realization that it is more difficult to learn audiovisual language than to learn Hindi, Marathi, Punjabi or anything. Because these languages are very limited alphabets and they are operated by only one central brain, and that's called the area for cognitive. Whereas the pathways for learning, before you learn even to speak your first word, Mama, Papa, are all our sensory systems. ज्ञानेंद्रिय जिसे बोलते हैं, सो देखना, सुनना, स्पर्श करना, घूमना, सूंघना, टेस्टिंग करते हैं, चखना. These are the ways we use to learn about the world. And that is how we recognize. To give you a simple example, since this is about experiential learning for you also. This is a school, and we have preschool children also. So at the time of going home, when the children are released from the school, there is a big noise. And parents are waiting outside to collect their children. Mainly these are mothers and the children. What is unique about this film? Each child, though he is not intellectually developed, runs to his own mother. This is not by intelligence. They don't demand Aadhaar card or anything. But sheer image and runs. Similarly, out of that chaotic noise, all mothers know the shouting or crying of her child. So that frequency is allotted only to that mother. Like FM, you are familiar with this. So this is the surest experience that we start learning from that. And the child doesn't lead to anybody else. Leads only first to mother. Even father takes little time. अब बाकी घर वाले. So this is the importance of learning from senses. And I want to draw your attention, since the formal education for many decades, not centuries, has focused on only reading and writing. We have developed only one part of brain, cognitive brain. So in a way, we all have swollen cognition and shrunken senses, because it doesn't focus attention in developing sensitivity. Now those people who are sensitive and not scholastically intelligent obviously fall out of formal education, and the best way to tell it is this: Mahek fall out of the school system. And I know many great creative people who are school dropouts. So we should not underestimate. The whole idea of education is to learn about your child, what are his abilities and what are his interests, because they may not necessarily match. And so it is very important to learn the importance of image and sound. And as I was telling, these other languages have limited alphabets. Image and sound have multiple alphabets, and the perception differs. So you can keep it learning. Even the best of the cinematographers still say that they learn. And idea of this seminar is to bring to your notice that how this medium can also be used or integrated in education. Because the conventional concept of education is associated with books, mainly textbooks, paఠ्यपुस्तकें, and the traditional concept of entertainment is associated with cinema. So we are not aware that we learn many things without our knowledge, without our conscious knowledge of films, through image and sound. And it's very simple. Why without our conscious knowledge? Is because it goes directly to unconscious. There is no other medium than film medium which speaks directly to unconscious. When I speak to you, if I am learning, I may use good words, intelligent, articulate words, but if you are sensitive, you can know from the way I speak and sound whether I mean it or I don't. And this is very important. Otherwise, we tend to get carried away by words. And that is why it is important, especially today now, in children, because we are in area of sexual abuse and all these things. And that's the concept, I think. And I'm here to learn from these people. I try to learn. The reason I learn it is not important because probably I was one such student, not exactly like Mahek, but I found it very difficult to understand by reading. Today it has status. In my time it had stigma. So you had to hide it and find your solutions. मला कळत नाही वाचण्याने काय नसेल असे मऊपणे काय म्हणते बाळा तुला समजून घेऊ का वेळ असे नव्हती पडत आत्ता मी असतो तर नुकसान झालं असतं कदाचित So I had to find my own ways. And then I found my own ways, which I will talk some other time. But, so I learned meaning from using other sources. I do not understand from reading, but I could understand from hearing. So if there was a good teacher, it was good for me. Or if I had a good peer who would understand from reading, I didn't fail in making him my friend. Because my only job then was to provoke him, so that he speaks whatever he reads. So that's the reason I think this event which has been organized by these people and Greatly Children Film Society has been aware of this kind of thing, consciously or unconsciously, because they all mainly come from civil service. They change every 3 years, 5 years. And so they really very important are teachers and parents. Because still, when I did this theatre, I used to give workshop for teachers and parents. Because they are the ones to bring children. Now those who were children then have become parents and now come to us, sir, tumchi ti natka kara, but we want to show to our children. I think that is very important because only one time exposure is not good. Sanskar jana monto, sanskar is like immunization cheap. You need booster doses. Consistently and regularly, that's what you need. That's what I think. So I think I should stop. These are too long opening remarks and hand over the mic to others and go beyond it. Thank you very much.
I will ask this first question to everybody present here. What do you think is the definition of age-appropriate content? And do you think there is any one objective way of looking at age appropriateness of visual content?
Alright, I'm going to say that I would prefer to use the word developmentally appropriate rather than age appropriate because each child's developmental age could be different based on their experiences, their competencies. There could be a variation in that. So I think that's one of the major distinctions that I would make. And then of course there's also, it's a difficult question primarily because interests also come into play. And what's therefore appropriate for one child is not necessarily appropriate for another. So somewhere in all our experiences that we provide to children, we need to be able to ensure that there is a sufficient variety and that there is choice involved in that variety. That we don't dictate what they should pick up or not pick up. And yet, as parents and teachers, it is critical that all of that is part of their environment because if it's not there, then the chances of them picking it up doesn't happen. And I think the same holds true for films as well. But I will elaborate on that later on.
I think, I agree that, it should not be age appropriate anymore because that's, again, like education being in a square box, it is like entertainment coming in a square box. And in spite of the fact that, I talk about the children's, perspective, that in spite of children being today global citizens, much more than we were when we were kids, because we were, very restricted to our certain areas, but children have become global citizens, but yet there is social mores of every society and country that plays. So things that are sensitive in each culture have to be respected. And I would even say, that it's not the censor board classification of sex violence, because I would say the children have any which ways, knowledge about these aspects much more because of the social media, digital platform. So it should be something that is covert in the, communication. So I would say that for me is what, the overtness or the nastiness should be off, because cinema, I believe, is all about life minus the boring things, So it's a fantasy world. It is reality often garbed in fantasy. So yeah, it should be messages that is relevant, that is necessary, but in a covert medium.
There is a wonderful example, like in many Indian sort of different literary traditions. Like for example, in Marathi, there is a famous book Shamchi Ai, which you cannot really say whether it is for children or for grown-ups. So something very important and beautiful doesn't need these boundaries. So, I would like to add to this conversation that something like Shamchi Ai, crosses all the boundaries. And I always look at any literature or any cinema without any clear sort of demarcations, because our children grow up with adults, it's not a separation. They do grow up with their age group, but they also grow up with the elders in the house, their parents, their grandparents. So the boundaries are very, very tough to demarcate. And that's what I try to do in Mahek, where I try to incorporate the teachers and the parents also as part of that whole thing. But of course, there is subtle message which works on them, is that in Mahek, she's Mahek Mirza, and we see a Muslim family, but there is no reference of their religion. And she's just one daughter in the whole family, and so you also try to break these stereotypes by not actually mentioning them, but they do have subtle impact on our minds. Because in Hindi cinema, we do always see these stereotypes. When we see a Hindu family, we do not really underline it with a character going and praying in front of Ganesh or some Hindu god. But when we show a Muslim family, we unfortunately often see them right in the first scene, trying to do either namaz or some religious identity. That in a way propagates stereotypes. So suddenly you try to fight them.
Very interestingly, this is something that Abhinav and I have also noticed. In the portrayal of pandits in films, there are almost always shown as corrupt people who are trying to fleece people out of their money. And the subtlety of messaging is what is important, I believe. Because when we refer to children's content, we also see a lot of content that has a very patronizing or preachy tone, which we see parents very comfortable switching on and leaving their kids in front of. But how is it, and kids that don't take any preachiness from adults in real life, but then how is it that we expect that they will take this kind of advice from them, when it comes from television? I don't think that's the way it should work, does it?
I think that they would have switched off if you only provide something preachy. I think it's very easy for a child to pretend to be all ears and all eyes and not actually be there. I'm sure all of us have done this at various points in times of our own life, if we remember that. I'd actually like to ask a very quick question to the audience. How many of you are parents over here? Okay. And how many of you are teachers of early childhood years? 3 to 6, anybody? Oh, a few. Okay. No, because I think a lot of what we're saying, that's where the foundation really lies. And what Dr. Agasha was saying earlier about multisensorial experiences, that is so critical. And unfortunately, most of our education forgets that the minute children are out of preschool, and unfortunately the trend seems to be forgetting it even during the preschool years. And that, whether it is for becoming a discerning audience of cinema or just plain and simple a sensible human being, I think we're putting ourselves in very, very grave danger if we don't allow for those multisensorial experiences to occur.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, my next question is also for you. Ma'am, in your field of work, you have dealt with a lot of ideas around storytelling and peer-to-peer learning. Can you tell us how important are stories as a format, whether visual or in books or just storytelling orally? How important are stories for the intellectual and value system development of a child?
Alright, let me say this in terms of cinema first, that we're using two very, very critical senses, that's audio and visual, and we're combining it with storytelling. So it becomes a surefire winner. Because stories appeal to children no matter what. A lot of their understanding of both cognitive content as well as emotional content happens through stories. If you recollect feeding your children when they were babies, whether it's ek ghas chuncha and ek ghas kautza kind of a situation, or a slightly more elaborate mugdo captain to basta hota vimana tarite vimana sa ala vagare vagare, which all of us create those stories, and you've got the child looking at you with a wide open mouth and you can dump something in it. And you're manipulating the situation. But you are creating that environment. So storytelling happens really from day one, and if it isn't, then it should be, because that's how you learn. That's where you're also helping a child translate the actual sensorial experience into your head, because you're giving it a vocabulary, you're giving it words to go along with it, you're giving it symbols to go along with it, and you make sense of the world. In fact, the one reason why in fact, what Dr. Agasha was mentioning about the Grips Theatre, one of the major reasons that I'm very fond of that theatre movement and of the organization developing awareness through entertainment is primarily that we cannot afford to separate cognition from emotion. That's again one of the big issues, and with all the work that I do and have done previously, a lot of it is in early childhood development. A lot of it currently with the Grand Cloud also relates to, so that you keep balancing between the cognitive aspects and the emotional aspects, the social aspects, because all of that is important. That's how you understand the world around you, and understand it in a way that is reasoned. So it's not just that you just accept things as they are, and I think that's one of the, in that sense, dangers, because all of this is all around us all the time. Earlier on, you could see a cinema if you went to the theatre. Then it became available on television, so it was that much more accessible. Right now, fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, it's also available on your mobile phones. And I work in these extremely remote areas sometimes, near the Sundarbans, and children will be trying to watch a film on a screen this size. That's how much the pucker of it is. So as adults who are trying to help children make sense of it, I think it's important that we know just how powerful it is, and it's critical.
Ma'am, what would you say is the role of adults, teachers, parents, in helping children understand that not all content that's available is necessarily content that's great or good or even worth learning from? Because everybody has a camera in their hands now, and everybody can make films. We have instances of films being shot on iPhones and being sent for the Oscars to various film festivals. So how would you say should parents talk to their children or engage with them, or what should the core idea of engagement with children be with reference to or with relation to what things to pick up, and how do they guide their children to be more discerning?
I think we're looking at it with a little different perspective, because when you're talking about children, I do not necessarily believe that the parents or teachers are the best guides. I believe in a paradigm shift, because I think that I'm not talking about early childhood, because yes, then they are the gurus. But when I meet the people who are 10 plus, because that's the cinema going. They start understanding the value and the joy of cinema. I think it's the peer group that needs to be really focused on. Because for sure, a child who is pre-teens, teens, the parent is definitely wrong at all times. And teachers are not people who know enough. I'm talking from the child's perspective, because I was a rebellious child myself, and that's how I felt, and I see the same defiance in my kids' eyes, a teenager. So I think it's the peer group that needs to be focused, and it's for them that the sensory intelligence and the sensory learning that comes. So you are making cinema, and remember when people tell me that schools are introducing cinema or theatre to education in a new way, I think that's actually an old concept. It came up in Britain, like most of the education system of the country came up. In 1965, it was experimental and in a project called Theatre in Education. So you have been learning formally, informally, of course, right from the day you're born, through your lullabies. We all have lullabies of different languages. Every lullaby has a message, no matter what it is, even it's a message of rules of the society that's, taught to a child without even being a taught format. It's not learning, it's learning, but it's not teaching. So I think it's the peer group that needs to be educated here in a very, again, Dr. Agashi was saying subtext should be there and not the main text. Because when you say things out in the main text, it is surely to be rejected by an age group that is young, fresh in ideas, bubbly, creative, and defiant, because that's what being children is. It's not accepting everything we say. It's often rejecting 75% and accepting 25% of what adults say. So yeah, you need to focus primarily on the company they keep, and that's all the time I say that you must work in groups with children and know who your child is a part of which group, and it's through them that you need to educate. That I would say always in quotations, because I don't believe that there's any education there. It's a learning process, not an education process, but that's what I believe.
Kranti sir. Sir, we're often told that films made for children protagonists, they are not exciting enough for adults, and directors are often deterred from working on subjects with children at the center of any story or any plot, because they have to use a different approach. How much truth is there in this statement? Because you work with both children and with adults, and what would you say, if at all, there is any difference in approach?
Well, it's very, very tough, because the ideas of violence are so deep rooted now in our society all over the world that we need something exciting, we need something violent for the children to be engaged, because the adults are engaged in very high violent activities in terms of media consumption. So my experience has been when I show Mahek, to not to children but to adults, they really tend to think that this is a very simple film to make, while it is very difficult to make such films, because the key thing is how to work with children on psychologically very sensitive subjects and do not basically abuse them. Nobody really thinks about that. You cannot be abusing them while working with them. So my experience is this, that when I show this film, it is considered really something simpler to make. But in other films, let's say, in which there are adults and then there is very intense violence, they are able to relate to that more, because they think that it is a more important and a more pertinent film. So it's how we consume this whole content all over the world. Like, for example, there is this film called Karate Kid, which has Jackie Chan and a young boy who is 12, 13. And my nephew keeps on seeing that film since 10 years. He's not interested in seeing the neck, but he's interested in seeing Jackie Chan's Karate Kid, in which a 12-year-old boy basically beats the other kids, And the story is that how he ultimately succeeds in physically beating other children and succeeding. So we need to really think that is this the kind of entertainment? Because when I see that film now at my age, my heart starts thumping. I feel afraid and scared because it is so intensely violent. But he does not. He's 12 and he finds it very normal.
Which brings me to the point that a lot of us think any kind of animation film is suitable for children, but we completely discount anime, we discount graphic novel adaptations, and we discount generally, cartoon films that are abusive in their tone, but not necessarily in terms of, what we see. What would you, ma'am, say about content, anime and graphic novels, and how do parents, they just think it's cartoon TV, cartoon network, and we can make our children sit in front of it quietly, they'll sit quietly and I can do my work or I can sit in peace for half an hour. What is it that you would like to say to parents who think that is the easy way out?
First of all, I think there's a perception management problem here that cartoons and anime are definitely not only for kids, because it's a medium again of cinematic expression, and I have seen lovely animation movies that actually caters to the adult perceptions of loss and of redundance, of old age. So it is a medium which can be used very sensitively to portray emotions which otherwise might be a little hurtful or a little direct. So it's a complete misnomer to say that animation and cartoons are only for children. And I think that's where Kranti, what he said, is so correct, that most of us adults are at fault here. Because we ourselves have so much of dosage of aggression. I will not say necessarily violence, because personally I have not, offended of violence very often, but I have offended of aggression, and I see aggression all around us, unnecessary aggression, because patience has become a limited commodity and aggression somehow has become in abundance, maybe because of the numbers, maybe because of the limited resources that we are always fighting against, but parents definitely need to rethink this, that what they define as cartoon and animation and what they define as what is appropriate for children is maybe their impatience with time and impatience with aspects of parenting, that they want to blame somebody or just fend it off, you just put the problem to another day. But it is a powerful medium that can, again, put covert messages in your cognitive brain that you carry on for a longer time, because these are messages that are, that they stay and you mull over it, and the more you mull, the more the beauty comes out, You may just have a eureka moment after 3 days of seeing a, image. It is not on your face. So parents need to themselves educate first, and so we need to have workshops for parents, and I think Dr. Agashia is correct that it's for the parents who you need to be the new audience, and not the children. Because everything that comes from our stable is what they learn. And we are the main gurus. Our homes are where the Gurukul starts, and schools come later. So with more education workshops and more, learning process to parents, definitely. And please, they should know how to properly use this really powerful tool.
I just wanted to add to this because I'm completely in agreement with it, and we were discussing this with Abhinav earlier and with you as well, that children seem to be getting desensitized to a lot of this, and that's a matter of concern. So instead of creating the sensitivity that we want to all kinds of situations, we're actually doing the opposite. Partly because we don't realize how powerful this medium can be. And this is where I also feel that parents need to be co-viewing with children, because to really recognize what the child is watching, what could be the potential impact of what they're watching, whether it's Tom and Jerry, which I cannot stand, or similar other stuff, you won't know till you sit down and watch with them. So I certainly would not be in favor of any parent plonking their child in front of the television screen or send them off with their friends to the cinema theatre and go watch. You need to be able to watch with them as well, if that's possible. Yeah, yes, absolutely.
I'll also come back to the conversation we had when we were discussing the talking points for this panel discussion. We arrived at this mutual, agreement that scenes of expression of love are more strongly resisted than scenes depicting violence. And why is that is something I would be more keen to know. I mean, I think you've answered it again. It's desensitization. We've seen the depiction of violence far too many times to feel that, okay, this works, they're just faking it. But any kind of, I'm not talking about the item numbers. The item numbers are again maybe a problem. They are objectifying this and commodifying. But depiction of actual affection and love between two people, they are also resisted very strongly. Ma'am, Kranti, I would like to ask you, why, from a director's point of view, why do you think directors are reluctant to work on subjects with children?
Well, it's a sad fact, but it's more limited to India. Globally, there are many films like E.T., which is the highest grossing film ever in the world, made by Steven Spielberg. Something like Harry Potter series are also nothing but sort of children's films. But this segregation of children's films and adult films is more stark in India, which is pretty sad. But the real issue really lies at the heart of civilization, at the heart of the global sort of state that we are going through. There's a tremendous degradation of philosophy and values. We really are trying to sort of live. We almost are trying to live in a corridor. We don't want to commit to ethics. We don't want to commit to intellectual development, and therefore, all over globally, we have like the highest number of people on earth, which are more than 6 billion, and the highest amount of ignorance about ecology. So young children, in Mahek, we are also talking so much about the dying river and this and that, and it's very sad that young children are instead of you making them aware of the ecology, because the earth is going to die, according to many environmentalists, in the next 50 to 70 years. But we are trying to make these kids, win more awards in whichever almost irrelevant fields that they are choosing. And that's more sad. That's really a great danger, because we need new Mahaviras, Buddhas, J. Krishnamurtis and philosophers. We need more ecologists, and kids and children. We need to take them to therein and Honorary, instead of putting them in classrooms and sort of making them prepare for some sort of absurd international baccalaureate. Because our cities are drowning, our cities are dying, and what exactly are we preparing them for? To go to Canada, to go to UK, to go to US, but they'll have to come back to this soil, and it will be too late when they'll come back to this city, because it will be nothing but ruins. So these important philosophical discussions have to happen in houses, in homes, in schools, and then you will see completely new leaders emerging out of these children.
So you must pardon me for the next question that's coming your way, because I am really at a loss, in terms of how to articulate it better. I'm more sensitively. But do you think incentivizing directors for making more content for children would be a better way to do it? Incentivizing be the key word here, which I think could be offensive.
Perhaps, all kind of art, across the world, all kind of art has always needed some sort of support. Because art is essentially professing what's going to happen after 20 or 40 years. And maybe in general, it may not be locally at that moment, but it has to be thought-free. And any kind of thought, whether it is Socrates or anybody, whether it is Socrates or J. Krishnamurti or anybody, they are professing much in advance. And at that moment, you need some sort of support. Because maybe it will be too late if you don't support them.
I think I'd like to add there, Shubhangi. Kranti says it from a creative perspective, and I would say it from a pure business angle. Art and culture is also a business activity. Filmmaking definitely is business. So when you say why not children films and why adult films, it is again finances. You do not recover your money from children's movie. Ashil says he's made a lot of movies for Children's Film Society, but let me tell you, sir, out of 270 movies that we have made, we have never cut even with a single production. We have never made any money. We are okay with it, never, because we happen to be the government of India and we're not on a shoestring. Even though the budget may be shoestring, because directors often claim that it's too less money to make my movie, but we are really not looking at earning. But when you are a private producer is financing a children's movie or an adult movie or a movie in general, he doesn't see it for the, for the social good, because it is not for social good. A director does not make movie for social good. He makes it for somebody to watch it, to appreciate, to be viewed, to learn, to teach, So you are talking about here not the art, but the business. There is no money in children's cinema in India and even across the world. It is some movies that actually crack it into the top, and it is those movies that the adults have adopted and become a child themselves, because the Harry Potter series that he talks about, I am a very big fan of Harry Potter because we grew up reading a lot of magical stories in India. So Harry Potter, I felt, was more Indian in context than European, or more Gaelic in context, because she came from the Irish background and the Scottish background, so it was a lot of that. So Harry Potter sold because of the adults being into it, Each of us ran to watch the movies and read the books. So when you say about the director, I don't think the poor guy has a choice here. It is about the financer, the producer, and the girl selling the movie. So that is where we have a problem with, children's cinema does not make any movie.
I also, because advertising also is an important element of audiovisual content that's everywhere. And advertisements are just bombarded, these days. We have a trailer of a film coming up, say it's X actor, and all past releases of X actor suddenly become talked about. Their films are constantly, their older songs are constantly played on all movie channels. It's almost as if to say that there's nothing but this that you need to watch. There's nothing but this actor, there's no one else but this director, so on and so forth. So, what would you say, where do content creators need to draw the line between data explosion and making information available?
They don't have a choice. Again, I said it's the business of movie making. You cannot hide the fact that, you need patronage for arts, because arts in itself is not going to grow. You need patronage, and as Kranti says correctly, you've always had teams who patronize arts, crafts, dances, be it whatsoever. And in fact, it is this patronage in the media district that makes some artists a guy Pandey and some artists a nobody. Because believe you me, I have known people actually looking at a Hussain and saying, I just cannot make sense of it, and these are very literally artistic people, and then when they see MFSN, they say, oh, it looks good, it's great. So isn't it the marketing also? Isn't the media hysteric that makes an artist sometimes exemplary? Is it not? So you cannot cut out the marketing geniuses that are at it, because again, it comes to the hard business that you need money to make a film. You need that initial investment, and everybody who has put in that investment would like a, buyback scheme or payback. I'm putting it very crassly. The finesse is there, yes, but you need to sell the films, you know. And I would not say there's anything wrong in the content of an ex-actor being shown again and again, because that is the movie making industry. You make your superstars and your heroes that way, and it is on after the World War when the studios collapsed and the stars took over. You sell cinema in the name of stars. So it's ex-star coming, it's a Tom Cruise or a Salman Khan. It's the stars that also sell the movie. You need people to come to the, theatres, and that has become a big concern because with the digital explosion, you have theatre audiences falling down. Kids don't want to go to theatre. The only reason I go to a movie hall is to eat the caramel popcorn, because it's difficult to sit for 3 hours in, often smelly AC halls and watch a movie, and sometimes not even connect and correlate. And Dr. Gash is already on his cell phone. I'm mostly on my cell phone when I'm watching a movie myself. So, sir, thank you. So, yeah. So that's how it is, It is a part of the package. You can't wish away one from the other.
But, ma'am, if I may, what I was meaning to ask is, then that means the person who has more money is able to bombard his offering more, and somebody who does not gets and probably has impactful enough content is not able to sell it. And I think that becomes something of a problem here.
Yeah, that's a very good point, So therefore, it is very important to realize that whoever has the money to buy the space in front of your eyes can control your whole emotions, ethics, and civilization. And that's very dangerous. So therefore, we cannot really build a world which is entirely market-driven, because whoever has money can exploit it. So it's that these visual spaces are being bought by, let us say, international companies, let's say Star, Fox, blah blah blah. So they are the new sort of new saukars of the world. They are controlling your how what you think, what you consume, and therefore it is more important to ignite individual revolutions in each child. The child must be taught to learn. The child must be taught to choose. If you don't teach children to choose, they will be part of this consumer world, and they will keep on consuming new TVs every 6 months, because their aspirations are now connected to chroma. My recent film is about illegal tree cuttings in Pune, and we went to many nurseries, and there were no young people in nurseries. And ecologically our world is dying, and most of the young people were in chroma shops. They were buying electronics because nobody is marketing trees to them. Now imagine an American company with a $1 billion budget, is marketing that you must have trees, Probably they will go and buy trees and plant more trees. But nobody is going to take that responsibility because they don't have profits involved in it. So it's very important to basically ignite their hearts, minds, and like he said, and Dr. Agashi and she said, to basically keep them sensitized. They must be extraordinarily sensitive, not to gossip and things, but to emotions, And that will start truly with how they treat their grandparents, how they treat their mothers and fathers, and vice versa.
So, in relation to what Kranti sir just said, it reminds me of a beautiful recent Tamil film called Kaka Muttai, which means the crow's egg. And it's about this young boy, very young, two young boys who live in the slums of Chennai. And they happen to see a newspaper insert of a new pizza place that has opened just next to their slums. And they are so amazed by that image of cheese, the cheese strings, that are attached to the slice that is being picked up the, plate. And they want to save up those 200 rupees to go and have that pizza. And finally, after a lot of struggles and dealing with a lot of ethical dilemmas, when they finally eat that slice of pizza, they're like, इससे अच्छा तो अपनी दादी उत्तपम बनाती है ना? ये तो बहुत नमकीन है, इसमें तो बहुत ज़्यादा नमक है. So, I think a lot of children also get carried away. But these children are sensitive because their father is in the jail for no reason, because somebody else has managed to put them in. Mother is struggling to make ends meet. Grandmother is trying to raise them single-handedly. So they are sensitive children. But that is what probably brings them to the realization that just because it looks so good on paper and in real life does not really make it delicious and does not really make it worth all the money that we have earned with so much difficulty. Ma'am, would you like to share any experience, with your children that you've worked with, any experience where they have dealt with audiovisual content and then come back and share some great learning?
Lots of experiences, and if anybody's interested in some of these stories, I do have a little blog called Granny Cloud Tales, which are just little stories of, anecdotes really, of something that happened in a session. But just to share, what appears as a visual image and what it means in real life, and it's not any great learning, but it does highlight again the importance of sensorial experiences. We've got one very popular clip in the Granny Cloud where one of our grannies was showing children jello, or jelly as they refer to it in the UK. And there's a little song around it, about wiggle wobble, because that's how that jelly keeps moving. And the children, which by the way is in an urban slum in Pune itself, in Bonanza, the children are just absolutely, they're just completely struck with that image, and they just love the sight of that red jelly on that plate. And in one particular clip, it's like when she was showing it, the children are at one end and this granny sitting at the other end in the UK, and it almost fell off the plate, and they were like just, it looked so delightful, and they'd never tasted jelly in their life. They didn't know what it was like, but it seemed like the most wonderful thing in the world. And it so happened that I was able to, a few years ago, get this group of about 20-25 children over to my house, and I said, have to make sure that they taste jelly, because they've never tasted in their life. So again, it looked beautiful. They put it in their mouth, and they're like, literally, because it has no real taste. Come on, it just looks cute and but till that sense of taste was triggered, there was just this, this is what it could be like. But I think for them, what that did was that, okay, next time around, you don't go by just what something looks like. You need to explore a little further, you need to go in depth a little further, and then draw your conclusions about something. So even something as simple as that can lead to a lot of learning. And I think we can create those kinds of experiences quite easily. I actually had, I was, while both of them were sharing this, I was again thinking in terms of, we're talking about reading and writing earlier on. If you look at it in terms of what's available right now in terms of technology, we could broaden that whole thing, and in the context of the project that I'm currently working, we're looking at it more as comprehension, because it's not just reading, you're comprehending, you have to comprehend somebody's facial expression to understand what's going on. It's not just reading printed words and understanding them. And similarly, writing is actually communication, because you're expressing thoughts, you're expressing ideas, you're expressing feelings. And currently, digital technology allows you to be able to do these things in many other ways other than print. Print is now, for whatever it's worth, old technology. You've got all of this available to you all the time, whether it's on your mobile phone or whatever else. And I was wondering whether it would be possible to use the fact that this is so accessible to everybody to allow children to be able to think about these things by encouraging them to comprehend whatever is available over there, and also to communicate using that. So let it be a 1-minute clip that child puts together, but using that to communicate in the most effective manner.
I would just like to open, ask the floor if they want to address some questions to panelists. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. Sir, just a moment.
This discussion has been so fantastic, and I can relate to all of the things like you talked about technology and trying to focus, the group sessions and whatever the contents. But I don't know, maybe I'm a defeatist, but everybody here would be on the same wavelengths. And then we go into the reality outside. How do we convince the other parents or other children that this is what we should be doing? Like you mentioned about focusing on peer groups. And in the same line you also said earlier that first any parent, the child is going to say no. So if I am going to say that your group is not good, he is going to say, you don't tell me that, I choose my own groups. So then how do we try to change this mindset or attitude of the general public? Because it's a closed group here, everybody I'm sure is on the same wavelength. But then how do we go and try to preach to the rest of the world that, we have to be revolutionary, but that's the only thing I can think about.
If I could respond to this in just one line, because constantly talk about quality time. But I think we need to recognize that quality cannot exist without some quantity. And it does mean spending time with your children. This does, whether as a teacher or a parent, there is no getting away from that. It may mean being there in the playground, reading a book while they're playing with their friends. But let's face it, all of us have one ear, one eye on what they're doing. Unless you share some of their experiences, they're not going to be able to accept you at the same wavelength. So I strongly disbelieve this bit about quality time. It has to be in terms of quantity. And also, this bit about, oh, I'm my child's friend, forget it. He needs peers to be his or her friends. You can be friendly with the child, sure, and you should be, but leave that to their actual friends. You need to be a parent. You need to be able to say sometimes that, fine, you might still go ahead and do it because you're rebellious or you don't disagree with me, but I will make my opinion about this known in no uncertain terms. That is your role as a parent.
And I think that we need to be, understanding the sort of transaction analysis with kids. I was just telling somebody that if you want your child to really listen to you, you have to listen to them. Because when a child says that I like a specific, singer, and mostly these are rap singers right now because kids are that age group that rapping is, the in thing. And you say, I'm not going to listen to the song because it's bad. Like I was telling I was talking to Mrs. Sergeant, my kid who's a late teen, he's about 16, 17. He told me a few months ago that you like X songs, I do not like this. This is so boring, slow. Then I said, okay, who do you like? And he said, I like somebody called Tupac. I did not know, is this a name? Is it a pack of cards? Is it what? So then he said, this is a great guy and he was off the streets and he got caught in a drug bust and then he's not dead because he's supposedly in the WITSEC program of US. Everything was alien to me. I did not know what the hell is a WITSEC program. I did not know what is a drug bust. I have never seen any drug in real life other than pharmaceutical drugs that you take. But then I realized that I said, you won't understand, you won't get me, you never get me, do you? You stick to your children's film society, you're not really bothered about your child. It really struck me because I go to schools and I talk about children and then I'm being the biggest hypocrite. I have one child and I do not know my single child. And I say I'm the mother and I go and tell motherly duties. Then I actually came back and I did it Google. Thanks to Google uncle and auntie whoever that is. I Googled and I found out about Tupac. I listened to his songs. I thought it was obnoxious, a lot of it, but then when I understood where he came from, I did reading about Tupac. Again, I thought that was very obnoxious because, why would somebody want to do X, Y, Z? I grew up in a different world. But then I realized that if I did not talk his language, he would never understand my language. I was talking Hindi and he was talking English and they do not have the same, tones of, it's a mismatch. So I actually found out a song of Tupac called All Eyes on Me. And I realized it's a beautiful song minus the bad words. I pop with the bad words, but it meant something on, I could relate to that song, though I did not relate to the genre, the person, music, I related to the content. And I actually opened a conversation with my boy and we said, okay guy, you want to talk about Tupac? He said, you really know who's Tupac? I said, yeah, Tupac Shakur is the guy you're talking about. So today, I'm having, actually I do not understand most of what he's talking, but he respects the fact that I took the time to understand his point of view and spend the quantity of, the quantity, not the quality. I think I go home and say, hi, kid, how's life? You want the new football shoes? Let's check it out. That's not time. I do not understand, so each of us now, it's a learning for parents also. We need not be the hypocrites and we need not be, that we're doing parenting because we are giving them food, we're giving them shelter, they are part of us. No, they are also individuals. They have their own thought processes. We need to respect that and hear them. And we want them, you asked me a question, so how do we absolutely do let them influence you for change? Get influenced. It might just amaze you at what they want to say.
My daughter, who is now 26, when she was growing up, as you were talking about peer group, and there was this whole bus culture when she used to go to school, and they learn things there and so on and so forth. So she would endlessly watch Govinda movies. And my brother-in-law, who would come on weekends from Akroz, he had a very tiring practice. So you would come here and watch Govinda movies along with him. And then I would say, why I was in film appreciation, film criticism, and I used to teach that subject in SCDT. So I would say, why are you watching these B-grade movies? So they would both look at me and say, because we enjoy it. And if you look at the users and gratification theory, I'm going a little bit into the theories, there are certain users and gratification which one uses for certain things. Like we watch news for certain things. We watch Arnab Goswami for certain things. We watch BBC for certain things. Similarly, we watch B-grade movies, as they would call it there, for certain things. And then she would say, okay, today I'm ready for your A-grade movie. What do we want to watch? So then so that journey began like that. That whatever they are watching, if we understand as A-grade and B-grade and C-grade, they would also start understanding that this is entertainment, maybe there are something else which I don't want to do. So that is one way into that lens into the world of the child.
Upbringing of the student or child, I had seen some beliefs, some principles, some traditions in that community or religion or environment, internal environment, external environment. So with this, the student can see their beliefs or principles or ethics. And it differs. It differs rich, poor. It differs educated, uneducated. It differs the community. It differs with the continents. Some ethics we say is not good, other continents we say it is good. So when we are pursuing any field, are we considering internationally common thing or only related to our region, Maharashtra or India or Asia? So when we are focusing only on region, I think the student, this child in their future, they cannot be internationally competitive. This is my thinking.
I'd love to comment on this, primarily related to the work that I'm currently doing with the Granite. Primarily because one of the key benefits that we've noticed from the interactions, very briefly, what happens in these sessions is that there could be a mediator. What happens in the Granny Cloud is basically there are mediators from anywhere in the world interacting with children, usually over Skype, in some other part of the world. Many of the centers happen to be in India. But what we noticed relatively early on is that because they're talking to people from across the world, and obviously the customs are different, the traditions are different, what is perceived as right or wrong or good or bad or otherwise is different. And there's no denying the reality that our children are going to be global citizens. I think we're fooling ourselves if we expect that a child born in Pune is going to stay in Pune for all their life, or for that matter born in Shirgaon or Sindhudurg, Maharashtra is going to stay in Shirgaon for the rest of their lives. They're likely to be exposed to a whole lot else. And if they can, as children, learn to recognize different ways of looking at a situation, then I think we're giving them that head start. And that's one of the things that we notice happening in the Granny Club, that whether they learn English or not is immaterial to me for a large part of the time, even though that's one of our goals. What is, however, extremely important, and I think we see a lot of it, is this recognition of basic humanity, whether it's to do with the fact that customs may be symbolic and therefore talk of the same kind of human aspirations. And I think we can use media for that. We really can.
The relationship between the information, experiential learning and learning through information. Now in earlier times, maybe when you were, at least when I was a child, it came in a sustained release capsule because the information was limited. The source of information was limited. Parents, their family members, then go to school, right? So the bulk of information came as you grow. And so you did have a lot of experience before you have a lot of information about your experiences. So we unconsciously try to judge information on the basis of experience we have. Now we have too much information before we have any experience. So now what happens is completely reverse. We try to judge the experience on the basis of information we have. And that can lead to confusion because you can get information of various types, but experience is your own and your own perception. So I think the present job is how to guide through the jungle of information, and that's the skill which we need to acquire. Realizing that information is not how to convert what is the importance of experiential learning vis-a-vis learning cognitive. This is very important today. Just to note, we can't elaborate. It's very individual in the time is connected.
Comments from any of the panelists? May I now invite Alvi sir and Sagar sir and Agashe sir to please come up on stage. We have small mementos and small gifts for our panelists and we would like to give it to them.
Just give thanks to the